All right, Nation, as we began to talk a little bit about this Dak Prescott ongoing contract situation, we do know that there's 3 more days, right? Today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. And it could be one of those situations where they're going to wait to the very last minute to get some type of resolution done. Now, I will say this, with the Dak Prescott contract, it's one of those things where the Dallas Cowboys allowed this to come this far. Let me repeat, the Dallas Cowboys allowed this to go this far. Why, Law? Why? Why, oh, why? Well, here's the reason why. At the end of 2018, Dak Prescott market value was right at $22 million. Now, when I started to post things about market rate and market value and things like that, a lot of people fail to realize that Spoke Track number system was right on the money from numerous contracts that were signed previously or during that time frame. Right on the money, meaning that everybody that had a market rate or a market value, go to spoketrack.com and you can really check out their wonderful information. Either the player done signed at the market rate or above the market rate. 9 times out of 10, majority of the people that do sign, they sign above the market rate or the market value. Now, there are some exceptions to the rule, meaning that if you have not been a starter and your market rate or market value is low, it could be due to your age. Like a Drew Brees, he's long in the tooth. There's no way that you can really get him to sign right at what his market is rendering, as well as a situation if you're injury prone, if you want a prove it deal like a Cam Newton or the Teddy Bridgewater, although he have not been injured, but he's been on a backup situation for the Saints. Now, Jameis Winston, he really looking at the opportunity and saying, okay, I know for sure that the Saints will not have Drew Brees for 5 years. I would like to be with a coach that I know that works out with quarterbacks and the systems of throwing the ball to Michael Thomas that can help elevate me. Let me take less money and play for the Saints. Let me repeat, let me take less money and play for the Saints. That's Jameis Winston's mindset. Now, the Tom Brady factor, look, we do know, and I'm not trying to throw any shade or salt toward the Boston market over there in New England. But we do know that they do shady stuff. And on top of that, they did get in trouble for it, but we didn't hear no ramification from the NFL. We knew for sure that they did something, whereas Tom Brady had his merchandise, or merch, however you want to call it, sold at the stadium independently, which is an illegal situation to have TB12 jerseys or TB12 merchants, memorabilia, whatever it may be, on the grounds or within the confines of the workout facilities and things like that, as it relates to independent stuff, because that's how you can pay the player under the table. Trust me, 30 years from now, maybe 10 years from now, maybe 15 years, who knows? It may be a ESPN 30 for 30 piece. What if I told you Tom Brady was getting paid under the table? It could be. It would not surprise me at all. Now, going back towards Dak Prescott and the other players that's pretty much in the same window of time or in the same wheel or what have you. Look, contracts are meant to be brutal. Contracts are meant to be long. Contracts are meant to be exhausting. But here's the thing, it don't have to be that way. Jerry Wayne Jones loved this deadline making deal. He loved it. But it's not good for the team. The way he handled DeMarcus Lawrence, the way he handled Desmond Bryant, the way he handled Ezekiel Elliott. Now, Ezekiel Elliott camp was just smart and wise to really try to shoot for their money before it was time. But we're looking at it now, looking at the landscape of Ezekiel Elliott. Man, it's a brilliant move by his camp, right? Brilliant move. But I will say this with Dak Prescott, the contract and everything else, all we got to do is wait till the 15th. Because there's conflicting reports. There's some people saying that, hey, his camp is not optimistic. There's some people saying that, hey, the deal is already done. Dak Prescott already got the cap on, and, he got the Cowboys hat on and beyond. There's something that's done. There's something that's done. We don't know. But the Pat Mahomes situation, it threw a crazy hook to a lot of quarterbacks. Why is that? Because we are in a copycat league. A lot of times, agents fight amongst themselves to get the better deal. And they say, man, how you were able to get this deal? And the NFL owners are looking at it like, yeah, this deal was done in this factor. There's so many ways to look at it. And I'm talking about the guaranteed money being dispersed within mechanisms if you make the roster and these sorts of things. It's a franchise, unbelievable, Grand Canning type of size of what Pat Mahomes did. Now, like I said in my previous videos, you do not franchise tag your quarterback. Let me repeat, you do not franchise tag your quarterback unless they're injury prone, unless you got something like that you kind of fight through, or you trying to franchise tag them just for a little bit and then you go back in and you renegotiate the contract. But when you quarterback and you play on a franchise tag, it just sets the wrong example, or it sets the wrong vibe. It's kind of like I said before, payday loan. And if you're curious about what payday loans are all about, they're like loan sharks. They're like loan sharks, man. You pay a high premium for it. It goes straight up against the cap. And on top of that, if you think I'm crazy about it, great organizations do not franchise tag their quarterback. Why, Law? Why they don't do it? Why they don't do it? Well, here's why. You don't go to great communities or prominent communities and find cash advance payday loan locations. You don't. Those are ways of small thinking that you're going to put a little bit of money here and you're going to pay all of those interests up front. And on top of that, you don't have wiggle room. Like I said, in the poverty communities, in the poor communities, you'll see payday loans everywhere because there's some people that need that money for a quick fix and not looking at the bigger picture. But a wise, strong, prominent community, they sully and denigrate. They do not allow those businesses to be there because they know that that type of market is not a wholesome market for that particular area. And just like when I talk about this stuff as it relates to this team, the franchise tag should never go to the quarterback who is, I would say, the main leader of the team. Look, if the Cowboys are wise, if they're smart, if they know anything else from here, they would go ahead and give Dak Prescott a long-term contract. And on top of that, they would take that money because you can prorate those dollars and go out there and get more weapons. There's no such thing as salary cap hell. We know that you can move pieces around. And think about this, by the Dallas Cowboys being coy with the situation in 2018 at the end of that year, remember what I said. They could have gave Dak Prescott a 26 or 27 or $28 million contract. And his camp would have looked at it and said, you know what, based upon our average collective stats or what have you, and our time and age of the quarterback, man, this is a good deal for my agent or for my client or for Dak Prescott. Remember, 22, and you offered just above that number there. That would have been a good situation. And to make it a proven point, there are people that's arguing the fact of saying, hey, it went from the argument, he's not worth 22 million. Oh, he's not worth 25 million. Oh, he's not worth 30 million. And they keep making the justification and saying, I will pay him 28 million, or I would pay him 29 million opposed to 22, or I would pay him 30 million opposed to 35. And now it's to the point that the market has grown so much that it went from 33 to now it's 38. And guess what? Like I said previously, the previous quarterbacks that signed, that's the starting quarterback, always sign above their market value. That's the craziest thing of it all. So now if his market value is at 38, you probably be looking right at a 40 to $42 million contract. And it's all due to the stupidity of the organization of not trusting in what they have or what they are able to identify as it relates to talent. Now, to objectively talk about this, because like I said, remember, go all the way back earlier, it was right at 22. But objectively speaking about this, if the Cowboys were really about that grind action, they would have just did this, objectively speaking. They would have let him test the free market. They would have let him or allowed him to see what his value would have been and show the hands of the other teams that's willing to pay Dak Prescott those big dollars. But they got coy with it. They didn't want it. And on top of that, they would have been able to put either a first round tender, second round, or third, 2 firsts, or whatever it may be. But by the Cowboys not doing that, and so for everybody to say, hey, just let him walk, let him go, let him fly, let him free. No, you don't do that and get nothing in return. That's walking backwards. That's foolish talk. That's not real negotiating. That's crazy stuff. To let a man walk and don't get nothing from it? Who does that? Horrible, horrible front offices does that. Moves does that. Wise front office, they look at it and say, okay, with the level and the skill set that this quarterback rendering, and we don't have full control of the way we really want to pay him, we just let him go. And with something attached to it, and get something in return. But if you just let this man go with nothing attached to it, it's foolish. It's crazy. It's not rational. So that's what all I'm trying to say to people. So you do not let the quarterback just walk. And that's emotional talking. When you say, just let him walk, that's crazy. But you do look at it and say, okay, what can I get in return? It's crazy how life works in a full circle. You got to be able to wheel and deal. And you have to be able to stand firm on what you believe in. And if you do not believe in your quarterback, if you do not believe that he's the end all or difference maker, then you make that bounce. But if the longer you wait with it, the more harm and damage you're doing to yourself. And the Cowboys paid everybody. Everybody's paid, but Dak Prescott. We would know in the future whether or not that was a wise choice or a foolish choice. Post me your thoughts down below. Post me how you guys feel about this whole contract matter. I do know that at the end of the day, will be Wednesday when everybody can say, okay, I was right or I was wrong. Dak Prescott was foolish or Dak Prescott was wise. Jerry Wayne Jones was the brilliant billionaire that he is, right? But we would never know until that time frame. But until that time frame, we can always make speculation for the nation, baby. That's been my time. I really thank you all for yours. Don't forget to hit that like button, share this content. Let a friend, neighbor, folk know where to go when they want to tune in to Cowboy Sports Talk and Beyond. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Let's go. I'm out. Peace.